Thank you for pointing out that I had no audio. But welcome, dear Angela. Hello, Assad. Lol Goggles. Dear Miles, Kev, and Angela. I said hello to you twice, dear Angela. Thank you, It's Law Goggles, for your 30 roses too, blessing us. Ariom Tat Sat. Yes, you are special. Now, though you couldn't hear me, I was setting the intention for this space as one which we can all come together as fellow students of life to uplift each other, relate in one another's experiences, and share positive sentiments. And I did a Gayatri Mantra chant, which you didn't hear, but that's okay. Namaskar, dear Ragnhildar. Thank you, dear Cindy. Assad, you were wondering if I have any mods for the chat. I do. I have a good amount, but if that is something you are interested in helping with, I don't need a lot of moderation generally, but a little bit here and there can be helpful. I am doing well. Thank you for asking, dear Violet. I'd like to know how you are too. And hello, dear Shakira. Welcome. Thank you for your heart me as well. Radhe, Radhe. Thank you for finding beauty in me, dear Cindy. Greetings, East. And that's right, Shay. Moderation in moderation. Yes, I am happy to have you as a moderator, dear Assad. I generally trust your judgment, as with all my moderators, but in general I can say that I'd like for everyone to be able to share their experience, even if they are disagreeing or come from a critical standpoint, that's okay. But if there does not appear to be room for compromise or direct and collaborative communication, then I ask to mute them for, at first, just the minimum, whatever it is, a minute or whatever. And that's 90% of moderation. So thank you for volunteering. I certainly trust you, as you've been a great part of the Sangha for a while now. Hello, dear Chloe. Hello, Rodine. Yes. And dear Jarrett, thank you for your heart me and meerkat. Ariom Tat Sat. I'm doing well, thank you. Kid Cat Paddywhack, it's wonderful to see you too. And I'm glad you like my kitty headscarf. Giuliano, thank you for your heart me as well. Jaya Sitaram. Namaste, dear Dr. Jenny. Hello, all divine mays. You shared that your favorite season is fall. Perfect crocheting weather. Yes, I agree with that. I have not heard of the comment that will be visible, dear Gregard. You'll have to tell us more while I introduce the question of the day, which is today about validation. I'm wondering, what are some of the most validating words that a person can receive? I was gonna say that a person can hear, but then I was reminded that not everyone receives words through sound. For example, all of you being in the chat, you share through text, but also there's people who are hearing impaired. So I chose to change my verb from hear to receive. I'm wondering, what are the most validating words that that a person can receive. I accept, shares Shakira. I like that. Acceptance is very validating. And thank you, dear Jarrett, for the dancing beaver and sunglasses. Very appreciated. Never expected. But I think you know that by now. Dear Ward, you share that validation starts from within. I like that. Yeah. Assad, you share that the most validating words affirm someone's worth and efforts. What great observations. Yeah. Gregor G, you share Comet C/2023 A3, also known as Tsuchin-san Atlas, will pass close to Earth between September and October 2024. How fun! Always a big fan of space news, what's happening in our local region of the universe. Cool. Dear Chloe, you share the two words, I matter. Yeah. I am not matter, but I do matter. Hello, dear Jane. And thank you, Jarrett, for your hat and mustache. And some flowers. More flowers, thank you. Radhe Krishna. Violet, you share that the most validating words that show understanding and acceptance of all aspects of yourself. Yeah. I am honored to be your ... shares Kev. Honored to have some association with you. Ragnhildur, you share, I trust you and feel safe with you. What beautiful sentiments those are too. And Jane, you share that after you told someone about some things and happened to you, a friend said it's not your fault, and you just kind of lost it because they wouldn't stop saying it. Well, I hope by losing it you're referring to letting go and a relief in the form of a release. That can be very validating. Om Namah Shivaya, dear Michelle. There are a lot of terms in that name for the comic. Atlas is a god. It's also an acronym for what I forget. And you wonder if Tsuchin-san is as well. I probably could pronounce that better. Yeah, I'm curious. I wonder where that name hails from. It was a good kind of losing it, dear Jane. It wasn't your fault, but you hadn't accepted that. Oh, yeah. But you share that you are more capable than anyone ever told you, including yourself. Like that, affirming something beyond words. Thank you, dear Canaman, for your subscription too. I am honored to be on the path with everyone, and I look forward to how our paths continue to cross. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. Dear Enzo, you share, you are always welcome here. I like that too. Dear Chloe, you share you're having trouble sleeping. That's all right. You are certainly allowed to take the time you need to let your mind settle. Dear Teddy, you share that the divine loves and cares for you. That can be very affirming, especially when it comes with a lot of understanding without expectations about what the divine may mean for the person whom we're sharing it with. Dear Angie, you share, stay strong. I like that. Yeah. Thank you, Morgan Bhakta, for your TikTok. Om Braum Hanumate Namaha. And Cryptic Connect, thank you for your heart meteor. Jai Sitaram. That you are enough, shares Angela. Kev writes, you are loved. Nick shares, I see you. How is your favorite tuberous root vegetable doing? You are very funny, dear Morgan. I am well, thank you. How are you? Miss G, you share, your feelings matter. I am listening, shares Angela. That is very validating. Hello, dear G to infinity. And Gregor G, you share that you heard a certain T Caronae Borealis may go supernova soon, which will be visible without a telescope. I've always wondered about that possibility, if we will be able to see a supernova in our lifetime. Very rare, very fascinating. Take all the time you need, shares Chloe Heavens. That's right. And I say that back to you. For your sleep schedule. Thank you for asking, dear Cryptic Nuck. I am well. Love to know how you are too. G to infinity, you share that my love sees you all here right now. What a powerful thing to say. I can really imagine a very wise grandma saying that for some reason. Like a little old witch, a white hat witch, you know, the good kind, saying, my love sees you all here right now. Dear Butch, you share the affirmation that you are your own best friend as well as your own worst enemy. So choose to be your best friend. I like that. Verity, you share, you are irreplaceable and are always meant to be here. How delightful. You are doing well, Morgan. I'm happy to hear that. Gregor G in Space News, you share that Beetlejuice may go supernova soon, which will also be visible. Just don't say it 3 times. That's when it explodes. Dear Cryptic Canuck, you share that you are so sick and tired. You've been out for weeks, so you haven't made it to any streams. Well, you're certainly never expected, especially when you're taking care of your body and mind. I'm sorry to hear that. I wish you lots of healing and rest. Irene, you share that you are more strong than you think. I like that. I am here for you, shares Ushabai. Very beautiful too. Lakonen, you share that it's okay to have a little snack in the nighttime. Would you like a hug, shares Angela? That's a good question. Oi. Hello. Dear the Sky, you share that you don't naturally look for external validation. That is very healthy of you. So you don't know what you could say. That's understandable. How about some words that speak to an internal validation? Dear Gregor G, you share that people said Beetlejuice could go anytime for a while now. With how light travels could have already. That's very true. That's true, dear Cryptic Connect. I do have many wonderful mods volunteering. And I'm very grateful for that. Thankfully, it's quite rare that we ever need any moderation. strungbystacy.com, you share, I can't know how you feel, but I can hold you while you do. I love that. Oh, Eye of Evil emoji, you share, the most validating words is, your experience is valid. Yeah. Good evening, dear Angela. You're funny, Sky Guardian, but welcome. Actually, this is just a really large glove without any finger holes. Good night, dear Chloe Evans. And Lakonen, you share that the most validating is to hear from yourself that you're really doing good. Yeah, and you have the ability to do that at any time. Regardless of if you think you deserve to hear it or not, you can still tell yourself. Words of kindness, always, here's Anna. Thank you, Rainbow, for your heartmeet, and for adding to the rainbow of life and all of the colors of our personalities. Hare Krishna. Dear Greg RG, you share, your answer to the question of the day is, I hear you. A sentiment that we unfortunately cannot extend to the comets and stars, even though they may be the most incredible explosions. Supernova, they are silent in space. So you share, I love you and care about you. And Rainbow, you share, I hear you and see you for what you say and show without putting my own spin to you. I love that a lot. Thank you for sharing that, Rainbow. And Violet, you think that your feelings are valid is a big one. I agree. I find myself very much affirmed by that statement. Dear Strung by Stacy, you share that a stranger validation you heard from a stranger. She said, hold on, I'm trying to figure out the grammar of the sentence. But she somehow let you know of someone being toxic to you. Having your back like that is important. It's okay. I think the sentiment came through. And Rainbow, you add that your best is good enough. You are good enough. I love that. You're a funny Sky Guardian. Thinking about dear Echo Leaf. You know, Echo Leaf still comes every now and then. Thank you everyone for exploring our question of the day today. I'm very grateful that I'm surrounded by people that know how to validate each other. That is an honor. Thank you. Noisy Nerd, you add to that, asking how they feel, how they are feeling and what they are thinking, letting them feel seen. I like that, having a kind of curiosity, how we can hold space for them in this moment. That's what I love about questions. Questions without expectations is that they invite you into their consciousness. Question literally is a question about a space that could be filled. It is an inquiry of presence. I love that a lot. Lakonan is still waiting for the kitties. I know you are. One day. Viber Zero. Thank you for your team bracelet and heart me. Hare Krishna. And dear Jason, thank you for your heart me too. In absence of my kitties, Marcy has said meow for us, so we have Marcy here instead. And some stickers of them. I try to respect their autonomy. I know that if I was just taking a nap somewhere and suddenly someone yoinked me up into the air and then put me in front of a camera with a bright light, I'd be probably pretty overwhelmed. So I just want to let them come when they want to come. We got many cats here, apparently. Alright, thank you everyone. I would like to now read from another section of our book, which is Hollywood to the Himalayas. Afterwards, we can really open the space to discuss whatever is on our hearts and minds. That's right, Greg RG, we've got cats on the Yamdana as well. We're starting a new chapter today, chapter 5, which is really short. In fact, it's just one page. That's what I really appreciate about this book, is the chapters are very short. Give some backstory, although you're welcome to check out the recordings of these readings if you wanted to catch up more formally. Our author is on a trip to India, on her way to Rishikesh. She never expected to be there, but her husband Jim, for whatever reason, went on a spiritual pilgrimage to this country, and so she's just kind of along for the ride. Chapter 5 is titled Arrival at the Green Hotel. I had chosen the Green Hotel from the Lonely Planet guidebook. Rishikesh is an official holy city designated by the government of India, so no meat or alcohol is permitted in the entire municipality. Thus, the reviews of the hotels were all nearly identical. Singles, doubles, AC, non-AC, vegetarian restaurant. As an ardent environmentalist, when choosing among seemingly identical hotels, I chose the Green Hotel, which we later discovered was so named simply due to the color of its walls, pale pastel green. Rishikesh is laid out on two sides of the Ganges, or correctly called as the Ganga River. A bustling downtown on the western side and a quiet area on the eastern side. The southeastern quarter centers itself near Ram Jhula, a swinging footbridge named after Lord Rama, the divine hero of the Ramayana, which is a great epic in Indian mythology, while the northern part is centered around the Lakshman Jhula, a similar bridge named after Lord Rama's brother, Lakshman. Lakshman Jhula is where most of the hotels, shops, and restaurants for tourists are. The Ram Jhula area, also known as Swargashram, literally heavenly abode, is lined with ashrams. In fact, we were greeted to these two bridges in a previous book we read that also happened to take place in Rishikesh. That was Roar of the Ganges by Swami Taratmananda Saraswati, which bears the same spiritual last name as our author, Sadhvi Bhagavati Saraswati. That name comes from a lineage of Hindu monks. I wonder if they've met each other. Perhaps Sky Guardian, the one who gifted me both these books, would know. In September 1996, the Green Hotel was the only hotel in the Swargashram area of Rishikesh, sitting on a small lane that runs parallel to the Ganga, just behind the ashrams. Of course, Lonely Planet did not mention that in order to reach there, you would have to schlep your bags across a nearly half-mile-long footbridge. And what a word that is, schlep. So, when we arrived at the Ram Jhula taxi stand to discover that our hotel was across the water, the driver instructed hopefully, or helpfully, you cross bridge. No mention of the large, convenient motorboat that pilgrims can use to travel easily from bank to bank off the river. No offer to find a coolie. The driver simply pointed his finger toward the swinging footbridge, more than 300 yards past where he had to drop us off. You couldn't find a hotel that doesn't require schlepping our bags across a river? I berated myself as we found ourselves sharing a bridge barely 2 feet wide and precariously suspended 100 feet above water, with stray cows, sugar-cane-laden bullock carts, fruit and vegetable vendors, motorcyclists, and two-way foot traffic. I was sure we had walked onto the set of the Indian version of the Bridge of San Luis Rey. Finally, hot, sweaty, and already done with India, I followed Jim through the doors of the Green Hotel. And that's the end of our very short chapter 5. Dear Sky Guardian, you have an answer to my question. Swami Taratmanandaji definitely knows of her. As you were talking about being able to heal mentally without therapy, and he said last week, you aren't Sadhviji. Well, spoken like a guru, I guess. Thank you for listening, everyone. But Sadhviji shows us that it is possible, at least. Thank you, dear Mermander, for the heart me you sent while we began reading. And hello everyone who joined too. Radhe, Radhe. Hello, dear Stripe. My day was nice today. I had a nice walk. How was your day? Thank you for asking. Born by lightning, thank you for your trio of roses. Hare Krishna. Welcome, dear Dansuela. And dear Talon, hello. Good day, Andy. And dear Anna, thank you for your heart me. Brahm Bhairvaya Namo Namaha. And Babblefishy, thank you for your pair of roses. Ram Ram. Dear Dr. Jenny, you shared that you love her writing style. Very little happens, but yet so much happens at the same time, right? I like how a big part of it is centered on what's happening on the inside, not just objectively outside, how she's feeling in the moment. My writing style can be the opposite of that. Every time I've had to listen to my mother's feelings about some of the writings that I used to do with her, she'd say, how detailed, you know. She'd always talk about how I describe absolutely everything that happens. I'd write so much and yet so little would happen. Dear David, thank you for that rose you sent as well. Om Aing Saraswatyai Namaha. Yeah, that was the entirety of chapter 5, dear Sky Guardian. I will read the next chapter later. You're funny, Andy. Hello, dear Federica and Purple People Lover. Dear Sky Guardian, you wonder if I talk to myself on my walks. You definitely do and get weird looks. I don't talk to myself, but I like to hum or chant. Usually I'm doing some mantra. But usually I switch to just mental japa if I'm walking by someone, so I don't freak them out. And hello, dear Mads. I'm happy you'll find this book to be amazing, dear Stripe. I feel like you're very much right with it, able to bring peace and relaxation. Dear Dr. Ginny, you share that you're about to lose power as the hurricane is about to hit you all. Kind of spooky. That is very spooky, but as you allowed me to know yesterday that you had started preparing early, which is very good. So I'm grateful that I imagine you are taking all of the steps necessary to ensure, the protection of your loved ones and belongings. And hello, dear Dalai. Dear Neon Jello Pack, you share that you discovered a podcast named Talk Description to me. It's super interesting. Well, would you provide some description to this podcast? I'd be curious to know. Kitties are safe, shares Dr. Ginny. Oh, good. And you? You are a podcast girly, shares Neon Jello Pack. I like that about you and others who make use of those times where normally we'd just be thinking our thoughts. You can use that to learn or feel the emotions of a story. Find ourselves lost in a dramatic world of sound. And dear Angela, you share that you saw a man hugging a tree today. Well, they don't call them tree huggers for nothing, I guess. I do that too. I can't take my mom anywhere. She always hugs all the trees that speak to her. I'll be talking to her and suddenly I realize she's not next to me and I look behind and there's just human sucked onto a tree. It's like it pulled her, like gravitation. I have to peel her off the tree. Come on, Mom. Yes. The tree knows you love her. Vice versa. Ali, thank you for your TikTok as well. Om Kring Kalikai Namaha. Angela, you wonder if it's for better health, immunity, love. I think it can be all of those things, but also unique to the individual. It's a kind of connection with Mother Nature. You feel validated, and you validate nature, even if they might not understand human behavior. Certainly it feels good to say, I hear you, I feel you, oh tree. I wonder how long you've been growing here. If you could talk, what would you say? What kind of stories could you tell? I appreciate you growing here, providing a habitat for little creatures, shade, shelter, being so strong and firm, not letting anything blow you down, being rooted in the ground. I salute you, O tree. Dear Benjamin, thank you for your heart, mate. Dear Dr. Ginny, you share that you are safe when the kitties are safe, and you went out walking in the rain earlier. I'm happy to hear that. Dear Strawberry Star Bunny, you share that it's a good omen to see a tree hugger. I agree. It's good luck. Yeah. Dear Sky Guardian, you share that you were talking to your friend on the phone and he told you to hug a tree, so you did. You're a good friend for listening. But you think that the tree might have been infected? Well, that's okay. I'm not sure of any viruses that can be transmitted or infections from a tree to a person. Dear Angela, you share the man's body was completely intertwined and was one with the tree. This was in the middle of a busy area. I love the symbolism of that. Surrounded by passerbys, people going about their day in a rush, the hustle and bustle of a city. And here this person said, I got nothing better to do than become one with this tree. Oh, I love that. Thank you for asking, dear Talon. I am well. How are you? Could I tell you what that tree had? Asks Sky Guardian. Probably not. Besides you, it had you on it. Maybe my mother would know. Hello, Dopamine Queen. Welcome. Little Moonbeam. Thank you for your heart me as well. Radhe, Radhe. Dear Gardening Gregarji, you share that mycelium, which also makes mold, can also be beneficial to trees. Good to know. Thank you. Yes, Shakira, it is possible that there are poisonous trees like poison oak, but it'll pass. Dear Stripe, you share that you have a cactus and you love your plants. They are so beautiful. I love how much love you have for your plants. Cacti, or perhaps kinds of plants that I wouldn't recommend hugging along with other poisonous plants. Like that saying that I think Swami Dayananda Ji says, I learned from Sky Guardian. Some people are like cactuses. Although we should offer hugs to everyone, some people we should hug from a distance, like a cactus, just from afar. Thank you, dear teacher Lorraine. Dear Ushabai, thank you for your paper crane and confetti too. You are very sweet. Namah Shakti Shivaya. And dear Bobby Sue, thank you for your heart me team bracelet, and I cheer you up. Kamalir Maha Kalikai Namaha. Thank you, little Moonbeam, for your 22 team bracelets. Som Somaya Namaha. Hug by energy only. Yes, that's a great way of putting it, dear Neangelo Bag. Andy, you share that we are all connected like trees to the cure of the universe. We are part of the universe. Beware. Yes, I believe you, dear Angela. You received many odd looks. That's all right. Bobby Sue, you share that you are sitting out in the sun today, warming up there in Australia. Ah, how lovely for you. As it gets colder here in the northern hemisphere, must be warming up for you. Good to have our sun time. All you know, Sky Guardian, is that you shall inspect trees in the future before hugging. It's a good lesson. Thank you for sharing your love, dear Dopamine Queen. I wish to amplify that and give it back to all of you. And Google first. And now we have that technology where we can just ask our phones to to tell us, what are we looking at? It's pretty good for plant identification. You can hold it on a leaf or a kind of fruit or seed, and it'll say, oh, this is from so-and-so, and you can compare pictures. It's a good step in the direction of having some safety regarding our plants. I think it's amazing how in modern times we pretty much have figured out which plants we shouldn't touch, which ones we should. And I think about how many millions of years of humans figuring that out the hard way it took for us to get to this place. You know, how do we know that this mushroom is not safe to eat? Well, it's because someone ate it. How do we know that this plant gives a rash? It's because someone touched it. A moment of silence for our human beta testers for thousands of years. Thank you for the service you have given. Little Moonbeam, thank you for your 22 team bracelets in addition to your last. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And thank you, dear Neon Jello Pack, for wishing us all beautiful dreams and energizing rest. I like your adjective of energizing for rest. Dear Sky Guardian, we can also thank the animals that test that stuff. That's true. That's true. And often we do share the same reaction to some substances with other animals. Sometimes it's different. No, if we let a dog eat the first cocoa bean, and we would never figure out how delicious that chocolate inside of it is. Actually, I wonder if cocoa beans by themselves are toxic to dogs, or if it's just the resulting chocolate we make through the fermenting and heating process. We can thank time for evolution. I like that. Shout out to time. I'm a big fan of giving shout-outs to parts of our universe that don't get shout-outs. Shout out to supercontinent Pangea for once bringing us all together on the same continent. Shout out to the moon for giving us tides. Shout out to Jupiter for protecting us from so many asteroids. Shout out to elephants for just being really cool animals. I'm a big fan of them. What is time? Asks Andy. Question that I'm sure will be asked in the future, as it has been in the past, and is being asked in the present. Dear Rainbow, you share shout out to the beginning and end, as it makes us appreciate the now. Dear Claude, you share shout out to trees. Shout out to Gran, shares bubbles. We know she's doing her best. Dear Stripe and Strung by Stacy, you share both that cocoa beans are indeed poisonous to dogs. I'm glad we got that mystery settled, thank you. It's like having Siri, having a live audience, or Alexa, or Google Assistant. It just might take a little longer. No, I've never touched an elephant, dear teacher Lorraine. But I feel like that would be very healing for some reason if it was consensual. If I wasn't going to spook the elephant by just coming up and hugging it or something like that. I love that, dear 44 Skywalker. You can tell us everything you've learned about life in only 3 words. It goes on. Or this shall pass. I love that. Welcome, dear user 224. Dear George, you provide us the opportunity to ask you anything. Alright, dear George, my question is, how are you feeling in this moment? And what's something that inspires you? Dear Mallory, you correctly point out that I'm wearing a bandana with cats wearing a bandana. Amazing. You should see dear Magdalene's cat, whom she put the same bandana on. So it was a cat with a bandana with a cat with a bandana on it. And at that moment, the universe was complete, and everything made sense. Dear Teddy, you ask, so I think we seek knowledge when we can't find wisdom, so we read books and see gurus, etc. Absolutely. I see that as a sufficient cause for seeking wisdom. Also something more we get from gurus and books, etc., which is kind of validation for the wisdom we already have. That's something I especially appreciate when listening to Eastern scripture or teachers. There's those moments where they just tell you what you already know, and it just hits you that your experience is valid. There's something that you have observed which you're not alone in observing. And in fact, something that you have observed or experienced or perceived is even venerated in ancient scriptures of seers expounding the highest truth. And it's like, wow, it must be true then. Shout out to Musical Instrument, shares Claude, for allowing us to sing our song. Dear George, you share that you feel exceptional love for all people is the most important thing. How beautiful. Thank you for answering. Claude, you had asked, what is pi r squared? Well, pi with an e at the end. Good question. I heard that actually the name pizza, it tells you how to calculate its volume. See, what a pizza is to a mathematician is just a very short cylinder, right? that cylinder has a radius of, let's say, Z. Or if you're not Canadian, fine, we can call it Z. And it has a very small height and altitude, let's make all A. And so according to the formula to calculate the volume, well, it would be pi times Z, Z, A. So pizza is telling you the formula to calculate its volume. Pi times Z times Z times A. Good morning, dear Michelle. Why Z, asks Marlo? Because then I wouldn't say pizza if it was any other letter. If we used R, it'd be birra. Dear Marlo, you ask, if consciousness is the impersonal observer, where in the chain of perception does the soul exist? What a profound question that is. And a very technical one at that. The simple answer is to consider the analogy of a bubble. That a bubble contains the same air on the inside as is on the outside. But the bubble on the inside has a kind of localized identity by the soap film which covers it. Because the air on the inside is of the same nature as the air on the outside, then we say that the Atma, the Self, which is the air on the inside, is the same as the Paramatma, the air on the outside. And so the bubble is the Jiva, the soul, which creates this idea of a separate self, even though it's all of the same nature. So although consciousness, being the impersonal observer, is omnipresent, it is what's reflected in our local experience of that field we call as a soul, the part of consciousness that we experience locally. That is the soul. In other words, what is reflected in our mind. And that is why at the highest level of Vedanta, for example, even the Jiva, the soul, is considered to be asatya, not real. Because it is only created according to the boundary of its identity that we experience through this body and this mind. Dear Claude, you ask, how do we calm down from anxiety chant time? I'm not sure what anxiety chant time is. Chanting can be a great use of our time when we are anxious, especially for the purpose of calming down. This is something that I have done in my experience with anxiety. It's not something that you'll hear probably any psychologist tell you, any doctor, that you should chant. So it's going to probably be a new idea for many people, but it was a revolutionary idea for myself. The reason being is because chanting is not for you. Well, actually it is for you, but the idea is that we're doing it for the universe to hear our song. We're doing it to extend gratitude for the divine and whatever that means for you. The reason that helps is because we're no longer taking our identity and fixating on what's going on here in our suffering. We're taking our own energy and we're extending it up and out into the universe. That puts us in a position of a servant of sorts, a devotee. And the reason that helps with anxiety is because it gives us meaning in that moment, especially if that anxiety is a question of one's existential purpose, a question of how one can feel validated. If we truly believe that we are part of this universe and therefore our duty is to serve it, then even though we're the ones in need of help in that moment, by feeling like we're helping the universe or the divine in its unfolding, then that validates and affirms our purpose now. And so the mind often calms down from its existential dread. That helped me a lot, and I imagine that it's good to have in your toolkit when nothing else seems to work. Dear Stripe, you share that you love to meditate when you're feeling anxious. How amazing is that? That requires a lot of bravery, especially when anxiety is a form of what they call the fight or flight response. You want to fight something or flee from something, but meditation says, I don't need to do either of those things. I can just be here. Allow myself to experience these sensations without fighting or fleeing. That sends a powerful message back to the anxiety. We can certainly do a short chant, dear Claude. I always like to end my live streams with some kind of closing segment, typically a meditation of sorts, which is often a chanting. So I would like to leave some time to do that later. But in this moment, we can do a little short one. We can do 3 rounds of the peace mantra. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Which means peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Peace, peace, peace. Dear Earthy Mamacita, you ask, can I drop my hair care routine? We have the same hair texture, but yours been dry. I don't have one, to tell you the truth. I just put shampoo in first and conditioner second. And whatever shampoo I use is the one that I first pick up, since I live with 2 girls, a mom and a sister. And they have all these different hair products. I don't know what any of them do. I call it my a shower lottery. Is it the first one that says shampoo? I know that one goes in first. And then when I got shampoo in my eyes and it's even harder to see, whichever one says conditioner second, that's the one that goes in next. Dear Angel, you shared that on top of the flight or fright, there's also a freeze response. Yes, you are right. Meditation may seem like a kind of freezing, but really it's a very liquid, like flowing state. Freezing might be when you don't know what to do before you even decide on meditating. There's just a kind of fear of making that first decision of what to do. Nothing seems viable. Whereas meditation, very loosening actually, like water flowing in our consciousness. Very powerful. And as you asked about if I believe in wind bending, I'm unfamiliar with what that is. Although what comes to mind is like Avatar, the Last Airbender. Whoosh, channeling the wind around us. Sounds very fun. Dear Ryan, you ask, have I heard of King Paimon? He's a king of hell who's very spiritual, mellow presence, but is evil. So the opposite of me, kind of. I feel like I've heard this word Paimon before, but I'm unfamiliar. Maybe you could remind me. Dear Angela, you ask, what's the difference between yoga and meditation? Is yoga physical while meditating is mental? Good question. Simply put, meditation is a kind of yoga. Specifically, it's called dhyana yoga, which means the yoga of meditation. The physical yoga is called hatha yoga, and that can include many things such as asana yoga, which is what we typically think of when we think of yoga here in the West. We think of someone doing postures, asanas. But if we want to be absolutely correct, yoga is one of the 6 schools of Indian philosophy. One of the 6 classical schools of Indian philosophy. So it's a school of philosophical ideas and thought. It's a very practical one, which is why when it made its way over to the West from India, we took on the bodily forms of yoga, hatha yoga, including all the postures, and we just kind of left the philosophy behind, unfortunately. But the philosophical side of yoga includes karma yoga, which is the yoga of action, how we create intentions with everything I do. There's the jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge, of studying scripture and contemplating upon higher truths, and the yoga of bhakti, devotion, which is all about reverence for the divinity that exists within everything. There's buddhi yoga, the yoga of our intellect, which is all about discernment between what is asatya and satya, what is real and unreal. So there's a whole side of yoga which is very much philosophical. But typically when we think of the word yoga, we think of someone in yoga pants doing tree pose, downward dog, or whatnot. The reason that's a part of the philosophy of yoga is to prepare the body for some movement of energies, as well as allow the body to be flexible enough that during long periods of meditation you don't cramp up or get sore. because meditation is a huge part of the philosophy of yoga. And anyone who's tried to meditate for long periods of time, even if it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, oh, your leg might start to go numb, your back you're sore, and you wonder if you ate the right foods earlier, your tummy's grumbling. So there's a whole practical philosophy around what we can do to prepare our body for diving deep within the truths of ourself. You're wearing yoga pants, shares Angel. I think I am too, although I'm not actually sure if these count as yoga pants. I don't know. Funny enough. Evolved mushrooms. Thank you for your rose. Jaya Sitaram. That's very interesting, dear Anis. I'm unfamiliar with the ability to move the wind or air or flames. But I tell you one thing, whenever there was a little, what's it called, a dust devil? There's a tiny little circular air movements. I'd like to try to stand in the middle of them when I was a kid, and all the leaves would go around me. I'd feel very powerful. Or if there's ever a fire in front of me, I like to move my hands through it, since if you keep your hands moving and the fire isn't too hot, you can actually stick your hands right in the fire. The moment you keep it there, then it begins to burn. But if you keep your hands moving, they won't, which is fun. I will not take any liability for this, so please do not do it and say to the doctor, I got these burns because some person on TikTok said I could do that. But it's fun to play around with. Thank you, Mirartedes Oficial, for the rose you shared too. Kring Kalikai Namaha. Argo, you ask, what's my favorite healthy food? I like that question. I would certainly invite all of us to explore this together. And I will begin by saying mung beans. I love mung beans. Thank you, dear Crystal, for the heart me and fortnight worth of team bracelets. Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Dear Claudia Sal, you like baked beans. Argo, you like pinto beans. We got a lot of lovely bean lovers. I'm happy to hear that. I'm a big fan of beans. Michelle, you like couscous. That's a good word. Guy Guardian, you asked, how do you stop drinking coffee when it's bad for your insomnia? Well, in my experience, I stopped drinking caffeine about a year ago. And the reason that I did so was because if I really thought about it, I didn't actually like the way it made me feel. I thought I did, but truthfully, it would just aggravate my anxiety. And because it's really important for me to live an anxiety-free life, then, you know, my peace of mind is much more important than perceived elevation of energy for however long. I think it's a matter of self-love personally. You know, do I love myself enough that I don't want to be anxious? Then having this in mind has kept me from taking any caffeine for over a year now. Dear Stripe, you share that your favorite food is bananas. Bananas are very healthy indeed. Fruit in general. Oh, O common metaphor. You ask, how can math and philosophy help further an understanding of the universe? I think in general it invites curiosity into how we can organize ideas about big questions of our existence. Math may provide us with the logic and the formal syntax to be able to parse that logic. Philosophy can provide us with a world of ideas for us to explore together and keep us wondering about the big nature of our existence. I truly believe that philosophy should be up there with the classes that we offer to children, along with math and science and phys ed and humanities. There are many things that we could offer for children. Why leave all the philosophization up to the adults when children are really good at asking big questions? Not the stand user. Thank you for the Heart Me and Team bracelet you shared too. Radhe, Radhe. Dear Claudia Sell, you share that math is how the cosmos works alongside physics. I certainly see the truth in that. Hello, dear Renvox. You share adzito beans. I've never heard of those kinds of beans, but wow. We're really exploring many beans. The baibog, you like quinoa, black bean, and kale salad. Oh, very delicious. Chickpeas shares Angel, or bananas or fresh strawberries off the plant. Oh, how lovely. Yes. You can relate with anxiety being exhausting, dear Mel. And hello, dear Marlon. Zarin, you ask, do I still practice math problems? You know, I haven't. I haven't in a while. No, why don't we brush up? Yeah. Why don't we solve... Let's solve the indefinite integral of x times the natural log of x with respect to x. See if we still got it in us. No, people are saying, Angela, specifically. No. No, I won't bore you with that. Thank you, dear Angela, for your rose, though. Arion Tatsat. The more recent reason I've had for avoiding coffee is because it's a type of Rajasic food, which, according to the philosophy of yoga, is a quality of existence which leads to an overactive mind. It's said that our existence is made up of 5 elements. 4 of them we know in our Western culture. We know that there is earth, water, fire, and air. There's the quintessence, and some people know the ether or space. But that's just a matter that 5 elements is energized by 3 forces. And those 3 forces are known as the gunas. There's Rajoguna, which is the quality of rajas, passion, overactivity. There is Sattva Gun, which is the quality of purity and goodness and harmony and equilibrium. And there's Tamoguna, the quality of tamas, of darkness, of ignorance, of restriction, of occlusion, of restlessness. Or heedlessness, rather. And our foods are animated by various gunas too. Each food has a dominant guna. Coffee, tea, garlic, onion, very spicy food. These are all Rajasic foods. They lead to a very active mind. And if you're a practitioner of yoga, the last thing you want is an overactive mind. If peace is to be found, we must have a clear and steady mind, and our food choices very much affect that. Thank you, dear grateful human, for your ice cream. Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. Thank you, dear hybrid Jen, for your wonderful rose as well. Hare Krishna. Dear Michelle, you shared that last week you read a book about Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic food. Good timing then, isn't it? And as you ask, can I list some foods that make your mind active or passive? Generally, we can know from our own experience. We can ask after eating something, do I feel, a little on edge? Am I agitated? Maybe a little anxious? Am I jumping around? People are going to have to peel me off the walls? Or are my thoughts seemingly erratic? There's a good chance you ate Rajasic food. And I covered almost all of them. Caffeinated beverages, overly spicy foods, and garlic and onion are the biggest culprits for a Rajasic mind. Really sugary foods, but some sweetness is actually Sattvic. Basically, when there is an intensity, an over-intensity of some kind, then that's Rajasic. The opposite of that, which is still not what we want, Tamasic foods, those are the foods that after you eat, you go, oh, I don't feel so good. I call that the post-McDonald's effect, because while you're eating McDonald's, it's like, delicious. And then 5-10 minutes after, once it hits your digestive system, you go, oh, I need to take a nap. It's the kind of foods that people say you should not go swimming or doing any kind of exercise after. That includes meat, primarily, and eggs. Really heavy, complex foods. But Sattvic foods, the kind of foods that, would be great if you're doing exercising, even the kind that marathon runners would even eat while performing intense activity. Water, fruit, maybe granola, nuts, seeds. These are all very Sattvic. For a meal, maybe legumes, other vegetables, rice, quinoa, any kind of leafed vegetable, basil, coriander, all of these things are very Sattvic. That's the kind of food that once we eat, our mind doesn't go, nor does our body go, oh. That's the kind of food that you can pat your tummy and go, good meal. Now who's ready for a walk? It's also the way we prepare some foods too. The way we prepare it creates the rajas or tamas. If really burnt food is considered tamasic. Food that has a lot of competing flavors is considered rajasic. But sweet or very flavorful, wholesome food superfoods. Those are considered sattvic generally. But diet can be a part of people's culture. Diet can be a part of their economic status. Diet can be a part of one's identity. It's very much related to the kind of role that we wish to fulfill. Someone who is an athlete may eat very different kinds of food than someone who needs to, I don't know, be scuba diving for long hours, or, you know, kind of nutrients is dependent on our situation, so it's very different per person. But for those who are interested in the yoga philosophy and going very deep into the nuances of the connections between our body and our mind, then I'd very much recommend paying attention to the kind of food we put in. Yes, Michelle. Oleander is poison, but coriander, isn't that it's the one of the types of herbs that you can add to something? Coriander? Is that how you pronounce it? Don't put oleander. No, I think that's a poisonous kind of flower, isn't it? La DSL, you're wondering what kind of food gets you young? Well, I don't know about the effect food has on our aging, but generally the answer to all questions concerning diet is sattvic, sattvic, sattvic food. Always, always, always. Healthiest food a person could ever eat for all reasons is sattvic, with some exceptions if you're dealing with some health problems, of course. I'm probably mixing up cilantro and coriander. Thank you, dear Ren Fox. Yeah, coriander. That's not a thing, is it? Coriander. Appreciate that, everyone. Angela, you share sattvic is the healthiest of the three. Yes. And to really drive this point home, Sattvic is the only healthy of the three. Rajasic food and Tamasic food are considered unhealthy. However, there is some exceptions, which is that a lot of Rajasic food can be medicine. And the reason it's Rajasic is only because we're using medicine as food, when we should really be leaving it as a medicine. As a medicine, garlic and onion is really great when used every now and then, but as a food it becomes toxic to the mind. Just like you wouldn't drink Pepto-Bismol every day, even though it's a good medicine. Bismuth has an important rare element for our body. But if you put Pepto-Bismol in your tea every day, eventually, probably have some effect on you. Dear Chaos Cypher, you know I'm happy to have you here. And I appreciate that you lighten up the space by joking about the sock on my microphone. But I would really like for you to engage in this space in ways that go beyond the smell of the sock on my microphone. So I'm just going to ask this once to open up discussion for other things. Otherwise, I will have to set some boundaries because I would prefer to use this space to discuss other things. Dear Bryce, you share that you have been dreaming about your ex-girlfriend a lot. And each dream you have always yelled at her advice. You share that you're not an angry guy at all. I believe you. But our subconscious is still a part of ourself too. And clearly there is angry sentiments down there. There is anger. And that is something that is okay to accept. I have had dreams too where I've been really angry at my parents, for example, even though while awake during my day, I'm in a pretty good mood and I have a healthy relationship with them for the most part. I don't consider myself one to rip them to shreds verbally or physically, as perhaps alluded by dreams that I've had, and you wake up guilty, feeling, oh my goodness, how could I do or say such a thing? But I think there's parts that are repressed that need to be communicated, and having open doors to communicate with those whom we have reserved feelings for in our dreams is a great thing. And having open doors to communicate with those whom we have reserved feelings for in our dreams is a great thing. It cut me out for a second. I think I disconnected for a moment, but please let me know if I have returned. Hi, thank you. Therapy and other therapeutic tools can help get what's in the subconscious and bring it to light. It might not even have much to do with your girlfriend or anyone really. It's just that that's who gets the brunt of it in our subconscious. Sometimes we have a wound that is very defensive, and it's not really about whom we're defensive with. It's just that they were the one that happened to come close to some wound that we have to resolve deep within. And therefore, they were the ones that got to experience our anger or our sadness, our defensiveness, whatever. So if that makes you feel better, maybe you can communicate that with your girlfriend that, hey, I've been having these dreams, but I don't believe I'm actually angry at you. I think there's just something deep down that I'm, I guess, healing from. And I hope to assure you that I love you and I don't want to be an angry person. Maybe we can explore some of the things that go unspoken in our relationship. Maybe there are some things that frustrate me that we can talk about, set boundaries with, or explore with compassion. Maybe some of those ideas will help. Tamasic, thank you for your quintet of roses as well. Ganganapataye Namaha. As long as you are curious about your dreams, there's certainly no reason to feel guilty about them, because it's a part of us. It's an expression of our experience, and it can appear to be spontaneous and vaguely related to what we're going through on the waking level. But I believe there is a connection that is worthy of being explored. Dear Stripe, you share that you are very mindful. Well, I'm sure you are very mindful too, but you had wrote quiet. And when you're around people, is it okay and normal? Yeah, absolutely. Some people are naturally more reserved, and some people are naturally more expressive. And I don't believe there's some middle ground that absolutely everyone in the whole world has to agree upon for what is a healthy amount of reservation or healthy amount of expression. But for you, if you are, the whole world has to agree upon for what is a healthy amount of reservation or healthy amount of expression. But for you, if you are to think about, maybe there's a fear that we could look at. It depends on the reason why you're quiet. If it's just naturally how you are, then that's perfectly fine. Thank you for your question, dear Chaos Cipher. You can ask, how can you learn to enjoy your life when you're not at work? You feel like it's become your identity. What you share is something I think a lot of people can relate with. And there is the term that's being used more and more frequently, which is finding a work-life balance. Which on the surface makes a lot of sense, because we don't want our job to suck up all of our life and just use our time to prepare for the next shift, to recharge, to heal. But on the other hand, I think it's funny that we do create such a duality between life and work, because a work shouldn't have to be a drag itself. It does require effort and energy, and it makes sense that you'd feel exhausted after a day of work, but it can also be perhaps some of the best parts of your day, being able to help others. I know from my mother that she loves helping people. She loves her job. And there's people who have the same job as her but hate it and are miserable. So I think it's the kind of sentiment that we carry in our hearts and minds when we go through this. Are we overburdened with expectations on our performance? If so, how can we relieve ourselves of that stress? How can we communicate with our coworkers and our bosses that we are doing the best that we can? If there is room for a healthier environment, how can we take the initiative to create that for ourselves and others? And how can we find value in the genuine service that we perform for others, even if it's really niche, like, I don't know, you carve wooden shoes for children. Or, well, anything to do with children is always very meaningful. Even if it's you produce a very specific electronic part for this one device. How does that device make a difference in people's lives? I don't know. Whatever it is, how can we find purpose in the service that we're doing? We have to go beyond seeing it as just an income source. Because the moment you think of it as just an income source, then all we're thinking about during the day is the money that we'll get. Money is great, but it's not enough to make our work purposeful. For that, we have to see how we're engaging with this community. How does our work actually make a difference in the lives around us and the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis? How am I making their life a more positive one too? If we're thinking about the selfless component of that, that can incidentally make life very much one which is part of our work rather than separate. I think those kinds of questions we can ask ourselves to empower the work that we do and help us. Thank you, dear Dob Darker, for the heart me you sent to. Hare Krishna. Dear Angela, you share, you're just kidding, that not just about the money, but how we are valued, respected, and appreciated. Indeed. And from your perspective, dear kiddo, it is true that money can be the opposite of great, but it's how we use it, isn't it? Money can be a way for us to help others from around the world when we are unable to physically help. As a resource, though we put too much of our identity into it, it can be the difference between leading a life of poverty for some people and comfort. And I hope that the ways in which it can be used to help people out of poverty, to aid in research for various diseases and empower humanitarian efforts around the world, that we see this as things in which this money can accomplish in a positive sense. Long as we keep in mind the power that it has, use it responsibly rather than a commodity to hoard, to keep away from people, then it can become a tool in our world. Dear Anna, thank you for your cloud bread. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. And Bryce, thank you for your shooting stars. Ram Ram. Everyone make a wish. To wish upon a star. Dear Not the Stand user, thank you for your pair of tiny tinies. Yippee! Of course, dear kiddo. Thank you for expressing yourself. Dear Andy, you share a statement which is, the world is not going in the right direction. Well, then how can we help it go in the right direction? When I look at my own thoughts, I pay attention to what certain thoughts create in my life. Many thoughts are just statements, like, the world is not going in the right direction. But what does that thought really accomplish? It points out something wrong in our life. Okay, then what? I think we should be asking. We've pointed out something wrong. How can we make it right then? Whenever a negativity is observed, well, in what way can we help attend to that positivity? Then this thought creates change, and it becomes empowering. Because by itself, a negative statement doesn't do anything. If anything, it makes us feel worse about our life. So I hope that we can balance such statements with ones that lead us in the right direction. That can be one of the most empowered differences we can make in our mind for our mental health. Our mental health is very much dependent on the quality of thoughts that we empower. I have found a huge amount of healing in taking what appears to be something set in stone and then asking if that is true. can we do about that? How can we use that as an inspiration rather than something that gets us down? How can we be motivated by this rather than be let down, demotivated? That's right, dear Angela. I love that observation, dear Kiki. In all the stories of the divine around the world, we are taught to sacrifice our time and help others to save and improve lives. Not because we have to, that we should, or else, but because it is the gift to us to be able to be engaged in something so meaningful and so purposeful. Why don't we read from another section of "108 Adages of Wisdom"? Let us recount for Master Sheng Yen on protecting the spiritual environment, another of these 108 Adages of Wisdom. This one says, being selfish and self-serving may seem to be a way to protect yourself, but this is not so. One who is self-serving actually harms others and ultimately themselves. And they all come with a little poem which I really like. Or did I say a poem? I guess they are kind of poetic, but I meant a comic. Here we have someone crying so much tears that they're in a puddle of their own tears apparently. They are saying, why won't anyone give me a hand when I need help? And this lady is saying, this is how you always treat people. Now you know how it feels. An example of karma at its work, I guess. Therefore, it is so important for us to be selfless and help others. How many times have we relied on the selfless help of others whom didn't expect anything in return? What an honor it is to give back to this world, this universe, for all of the things that we have been helped with. Thank you for listening. To make a positive impact, shares Michelle, no matter how small it may seem. Dear Told of Life, you share that health requires kindness, extended both inwards and outwards, neither without the other. I love that. Thank you. Hello, dear Chuck. How are you doing, my friend? And I am well. Thank you, Michelle. How are you? I like that. Andy had written, I found God. And impolite questions asked, where was he hiding? And he said he was there all along. I kicked myself. Love that. And thank you, dear Andrew, for your pair of disco loves. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Dear Haley, thank you for your heart me too. And a team bracelet. And a cheer you up. Thank you. Jai Sitaram. Delster, you were wondering how old am I? In this body, I'm 22. It's a funny question, dear Claude. A man who is going through a door sideways is going where? To the crab convention, I guess. Don't crabs walk sideways? Dear Ennis, Isha, that Osho said to be simply selfish. Osho said a lot of things that others would not say, which is deeply respectable. But he also created a community in which many people share accounts of being taken advantage of. And I'm with them as I am with Osho in that he shared beautiful spiritual truths, many of which could not have been articulated better. And I'm also with those whom experienced a lot of suffering themselves, and I wish for them healing too. Osho once said that, how do you know if it's good karma? If it feels good immediately after. And how do you know if it's bad karma? If it feels bad immediately after. I thought that was funny. If you think about it, I think we can come up with many exceptions to that. But I have a lot of respect for him. If there is a way to be selfish, it's in the way of being a role model to others by showing others how to take care of yourself, how to be there for your body, your mind, and taking care of the self within you that extends to everyone around you. That one being we call the self that we share as our identity. Hello, dear Courtney. Thank you for finding sweetness in me and wishing me a great day. All the best for you. But karma is not revenge, clarifies Angela. No, actually the word karma is very technical, and the way we understand it colloquially is a simplification. I made a video trying to get to the root of the traditional meaning of this word. You're welcome to check it out. Karma literally means action, but like most words in Sanskrit, which karma is one of, it carries with it a philosophy surrounding action. That philosophy is called karma yoga, Basically, there's a way of engaging in life in which our actions, our karmas, bind us. We call that karmic bondage. There's also a way in which we can engage in life without being bound to the results of our actions. And simply put, that means making peace with the outcomes before we engage in anything. Or to put it in the other terms, only perform those actions which we've already made peace with what could come from them. Otherwise, if we perform an action and we have not made peace with what could come from that action, then there could be very real consequences that we will have to face. But if we have already made peace with the results of our actions, then no matter what situation we find ourselves in, we are free to make of it what we want. And that is the secret to being beyond karma. But no, it's not a punishment or revenge or anything of that sort. Nor is it a reward when it's in the other direction. Our actions do have effects, but the funny thing about that saying is that it implies that there is a direct consequence of each action. But the law of karma is sometimes saying the opposite, which states that sometimes it's out of our control. And have you made peace with that? That's what it says in the Bhagavad Gītā, basically. That have you considered that you may do your best and still fail? Because if so, then when you fail, please relieve yourself of that burden, because you know that this effect was not necessarily caused by your action. I find that really ironic a little bit, that how we understand the law of karma is sometimes the opposite, as this idea that circumstances are largely out of our control. If we can make peace with that, then we don't inflict karmic bondage. I think this is the secret that many of us need to make use of this law. Dear John F., thank you for your heart me, your friendship necklace, your finger heart, and a tiny yippee! Dear Deanna, thank you for your heart me and team bracelet. Ram. Ducky had asked, how do you get some action from an old action? With a lot of lubrication. And you can interpret that in many ways. Yeah, that's right, dear Catherine. As the law of physics, for every action there's an equal or opposite reaction, is what's usually stated as the law of karma. But ironically, if we want to be really correct, law of karma is sometimes saying something very different, which is that we are a part of a universe which is largely out of our control. And so our actions may be only one of many from other people and other places that have brought this moment to be. Therefore, we cannot beat ourselves up about what could or could not have been if we find ourselves in an unfavorable situation. Therefore, we must make our intentions such in all that we do that we understand there's more going on than ourself, that we are part of a greater whole. We can influence it a little bit, but we cannot identify with our actions. We are the non-doer. Material nature, she is a tricky one, and she is going to throw us curveballs. We will study as hard as we can and still get bad grades from time to time. We will take care of our health as best as we can and still get sick. We can try to recount our youth for as long as possible and still grow old. We can communicate everything we can with someone and still be understood or still be misunderstood. We can study all the medical textbooks possible and still might get the surgery wrong. We can fight as hard as we can and still lose the battle. This is the law of karma. It is saying that your best is always enough. So liberate yourself from the expectations to have created a perfect result, because that is near impossible. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dear Leiden, you ask, how do you start a live stream? Well, I see that you have 83 followers. I believe there is a minimum number. I think it might be 1,000, which is pretty big, but it's also not that challenging to grow followers on TikTok compared to other platforms. So if you want to put yourself out there, which is something I would love for you and anyone, then I suppose it will start with making some videos, getting creative with whatever you want to share. And then I pray that one day you will have enough followers to go live and get to share whatever is important to you and have it be heard. And if anyone would like to help dear Leiden or Leiden, you can tell me how to pronounce your name out. You're welcome to give them a little follow. Laura, you heard that this year's the year for people receiving their karma. It's every moment. Every moment. Yes. Karma doesn't take days off. Working 24/7, that is. Dear Ennis, you ask, what about kids getting in bad situations? Is it their karma from past lives? No. You'll notice that there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding karma, and I try to do my best to resolve them. Someone who goes through any tragedy, no matter how big or small, how old or young, is not just their karma. It's not like this is some universe which delivers punishment in such a way. No, the situations that come to us, yes, we shape the environment in which we exist in, but it is not bad or good, not a punishment or reward. Sometimes a bad situation is exactly what is required for us to learn a beautiful and deeply heartbreaking truth. It might be the trauma that ultimately leads one to grow up to be the world's best leading psychiatrist or therapist or mental health provider. Sometimes the things that we go through can be a place for us to find our deepest strengths and virtues, even if it takes years to realize. And in that case, people can look back at such things and say, that was a blessing. And if that you can get to that stage, then what a wonderful realization, way to live. It's just not easy. And similarly, sometimes the universe can provide for us something really pleasurable or comforting, and we might call that a good situation. But that might be seen as a challenge, whether we are willing to say, no, actually, I don't need this at this time. I know that my happiness is not dependent on this situation. So allow me to take a step back and discover it from within. Karma, I guess I'll just say it very simply. Karma is not the law of cause and effect. The spiritual truth that it points to is the fact that it's up to us to make do with what we've got. Karma meaning action. We can act completely independently from our circumstance, and our circumstance may arise completely independently from us. But what depends on us is how we make use of it, how we choose to use what we've got, take the situation, bad or good, and use it for growth, for love, for vulnerability. That is our karma, our ability to engage. It is basically saying, your happiness and misery is your free will, and the circumstances are merely your canvas in which you get to paint the narrative of your life. This is what the philosophy of action is saying, of karma yoga. Thank you, dear Renvox, for your fire. Om Ganganapataye Namaha. Dear John James, you ask, do you connect most with yourself or the universe or all of the above? I say, what's the difference? And Angela, you share that sometimes bad things happen to good people. Why is that though? To me, it's not a question I've really ever asked myself, because I don't consider there to be good people or bad things. Nor do I consider there to be good things or bad people. So if there is no good or bad people or things, then what is this question really pointing to? This question is asking, why is it that very lovely people who are kind and compassionate and considerate seem to go through heartbreak, maybe experience disease or suffering? Now that question is very meaningful, and that's a very true part of our existence. Well, have you considered that these people are kind and considerate and loving and supportive because they empathize with everyone else who also experiences suffering and heartbreak and disease and challenge? That what they are experiencing that we call as bad, to good people, is just the fuel they use to empathize with others and become more good. That the challenges that they have faced are motivators to be there for others, because they can relate with how much there is in life to be challenged by, and how many people are experiencing the same things as you and I. Therefore, every time that we experience sadness, we think, I am able in this moment to connect with so many people around the world who are also sad. Therefore, is my suffering a bad thing or a good thing? We can label it either way. It just depends on our perspective. And from some perspectives, this question becomes challenging. And from other perspectives, this question becomes inspiring. Also, it is best that negativity occurs to good people. Why? Because only good people can stop the chain of negativity from spreading further. Isn't that the case? That if I'm angry with you, and you're not a good person, then you're going to take that anger and you're probably going to deliver it to the next guy. I get angry with you, you get angry with them, they get angry. When does the chain of anger stop? Once it reaches a good person, someone who's compassionate and kind, and they receive that and they transform that energy into something different. Thank you, dear Macy Gypsy, for your rose that you sent. Nice to have you here. Om Namah Shivaya. And Zadina Choran, thank you for your octet of roses. Om Brahm Bhairvaya Namo Namaha. Welcome, dear Sultana of the Sahara. Very grateful to have you here with me. Hello, James. I am well, thank you. And you ask, how's it going? It's good. And how to deal with letting go. Letting go is easier said than done. It's actually very rare that someone may say, let go, and you feel that relief. It's the result of a process that might be more time intensive. The process of letting go is very challenging. Largely, it involves actually gaining something else. We are like, did you ever watch the Night at the Museum movie? In the Night at the Museum, there's this monkey. Still don't exactly know why there's a monkey at a museum. But this monkey would always steal the keys of the museum watcher at night. And if you remember the clever solution that they thought of, what they did to get the monkey to let go of their keys is to give it something else. And I think in the movie it was a plastic keychain. And that's an even better thing, because now the monkey can play with that and not get the museum keeper into trouble. You can consider ourselves like monkeys in many ways. I think we call parts of our brain the monkey brain since they act very primitively, neurologically. So, in order to get a baby to let go of something too, you gotta interchange it with something else. You know, baby's holding on to mom's wallet. Baby's got that grip like nothing else, which is a survival mechanism. can't get mama's wallet out of their hands. But what you do is you hold a lollipop, and the baby reaches for the lollipop, and now you're able to let go of the wallet. We need something to hold on to let go of something else. Right now, what we're holding on to is something impermanent that we're struggling with because we know it's time for it to leave our experience. Or maybe it already has, and we're just holding on to hope or the memory of that thing. The only way we can let go of something like that is to then reach for something higher. For example, if we're struggling to let go of, let's say, the love we had with someone in the form of this bodily relationship, we might not be able to let go of that as it is, but we can reach for maybe a higher truth. We can hold this higher truth that actually the love we had with them is already in my heart. The love was not attached to the physical person. I can let that go now because I now hold their love in my heart. Their physical person was just a temporary place for us to put love. Now it's time to put that love in a place that'll last a lot longer. I think in this way, we don't have to let go of everything. Just like climbing a ladder. We let go of one rung only so that we can reach the next. If we don't see that next rung, you don't have to let go yet. In fact, I implore you to keep your hand on that rung if you don't know where the next one is. Otherwise, you'll fall off. Yes, by your words you said that person was everything. But was their body that everything? Or was there something more in their body and its relationship to you? Their physical presence. Like when we say that a person has passed away. If a person was just their body, then who's this lying in the funeral casket? If they've passed away, then, who's that? So when we say that they've passed away, there must be something else. And where has that gone? Or has it even gone? Has it just passed from this body to something more subtle, like our heart? And I say this for death, but it applies to breakups also. The people whom still are not in our life physically, but maybe somewhere else physically. Also, we can ask, what we shared during that time, was that everything? Or was there more to that? When they were out on a trip and we stayed home, was there still love? Or did we suffer? I think sometimes we suffer, that we miss them, but still there is love. So why should it be different if they've said that they're going on a different kind of trip? One which they don't know how long they'll be, Maybe we'll connect again in this lifetime, maybe in the next or beyond, maybe in the next universe. But for now, there is a departure of our proximity. Still, that love remains. You know, when we clap, some people measure how fast you can clap, and there's this technique to clap really fast. But one person said that you never stop clapping. It's just that sometimes the gap between your claps spans days. But if this is the first time you've clapped today, you're just continuing from last week or whatever. You just had a really long, slow clap that took days or weeks. So too. No, it feels like you're not clapping now. But in another way you are. And it may feel like you're separate from this person right now. But in another way, you are still together. But we respect the space that this existence has created. And we use that space not as an emptiness, but as an openness. Thank you, dear Michael, for the heart me and rose you sent earlier. Om Braum Hanumade Namaha, and witness of beauty. Thank you for your heart me and hand hearts. Om Gang Ganapataye Namaha. In general, I can also add that process of letting go can practically benefit from a creative project of some kind. I know after I experienced loss in my life, particularly in breakups, that I would just dive deep into some creative project where I'd find some aspect of myself that I just didn't have time to during that relationship. Now that that space has opened up, you know, I might as well dive into that space and see what I can discover. For me, it was mathematics. After every breakup, I went really deep into some area of mathematics. Studying higher dimensional shapes and whatnot. That was fun, but it really helped the process. Like an outlet. Yeah, and what I love about that term outlet is we use them for the energy that comes from our walls. And so too, actually we are the outlet. What we need is an inlet so that energy can flow through like current. Thank you, dear Anna, for the ice cream cone. Hare Ram. Made of gold, you ask, when is India? Well, presumably it's still there, so I'd say now. But when is my trip to India? I have yet to discover the right opportunity. Right now, my family is going through a big transition, and so I'm just kind of being there for them. And in the meantime, prioritizing my physical and mental health. But my aspiration to go still remains, and all of the money I saved for it is still there. And I haven't gone to the casino with it or anything like that. One may fret not. Thank you for being a perceiver of wonder, dear Macy. And thank you for your love and light, dear Deanna. Dear Lou, thank you for finding room in me to explore rationality more. And I'm very grateful for the breakups I've had, as they've taught me a lot about my independence. Given the weight of this comment, I can only imagine that maybe you've had a hard day today. And if that's true, I'm sorry to hear that. And I value your expression. And I hope that you feel better soon. Dear Mormodra, if that is how I pronounce your name, thank you for your quartet of roses. Jaya Sitaram. Dear Sultana, you want to go to India too? We can go together. Field trip. We can take the whole Sangha. That'd be very expensive. Dear Deanna, do you share that you were blessed to spend a month in India some years back, and it was a profound experience for you? I'm happy to hear that. I would love to experience that too. And I think in many ways my heart already is. It's just that my body has yet to catch up. And thank you, dear Andrew, for your disco love and pair of ice cream cones. Radhe, Radhe. And Anna, thank you for your 9 roses. Om Brahm Bhairvaya Namo Namaha. Angela, you ask, what is the transition with my family? I didn't specify. It is pretty personal, and so there's not much I can say without crossing the boundaries of privacy of people in my life, but let's say that almost everyone in our family right now is discovering a kind of independence. So some codependence has been, thankfully and fortunately, come to a stop. And I think we're all learning how to not be so codependent. Dear Ryan, you ask, what's my opinion on the Dalai Lama? I have only heard wonderful things from his mouth. I have watched many documentaries about him, actually. I'm kind of fascinated by him. The story of his exile from Tibet is fascinating. And how just at a young age he was selected as the reincarnation of the Buddha of compassion, the Bodhisattva of compassion, to be the next Dalai Lama. And that he was the leader of a country from childhood. And yet he remained so with complete humility. I don't think the Dalai Lama ever took that to his head, got it to his head, and had a big ego about, oh, I'm the Dalai Lama. He always said, I am but a simple Buddhist monk. There was a beautiful documentary I watched of him recently with Toto. I forget his last name, but I think his first name is Toto. He's an archbishop, Archbishop Toto. And he was revered, I think, in South Africa for creating a better space for a different government. He had, or Tutu, was that right? I can't remember exactly. but he was very much of a prominent figure in the movement to get a different government in South Africa, which at the time was very racist and had preferred the white citizens rather than, the black Africans. And so there's a lot in common between that archbishop and the Dalai Lama, and the two of them together are just like children. They're so funny. They're always picking at each other, poking each other, literally, but also with their words. And it's just like watching two children bicker, but they have so much love for each other since they share very similar stories. Desmond Tutu, that's his name. Thank you, dear Loopy Lane. Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He is like the best friend of the Dalai Lama. I really recommend that documentary that recently came out. I think it's on Netflix. And I forget the name of that too, but I'm sure it's easy to find. Hello, Loopy Lane. Thank you, dear Angela, for your ice cream cone. Hari Om Tat Sat. My Lebanese friend, do I think life is live together, die alone? People always say that we are born, we come into this life and we leave it alone. But I think that's not true. For one, we were with our mother when we were born. It's pretty hard for her not to be there. I think a miracle would have to take place of some kind, besides the miracle that's already taking place. In fact, every stage of your birth, from your conception to the delivery, someone was there. And ideally, too, our loved ones will be there at the end, too. It's just that we don't take them with us. But does that mean that we go into a place that we're somehow separate from them? Maybe physically. Yes, we have all this physical association while alive that we don't, perhaps before or after our life, but we always say that our past loved ones are still with us. Does that mean that they're alone? We always tell the one who's grieving that they're not alone because their loved one is still with them. So why should their loved one be alone? It wouldn't make sense. How can two people be together such that one of them is alone and the other isn't? So I'm not really sure where this comes from, that we all die alone, because almost everything we talk about death affirms to us that there is a kind of joining of ourself with the universe, or at least with our loved ones. And therefore, in what way does that make it a lonely period? Dear Wesley, you share that everyone on earth shares the fact that no one asked to be born. Is that so? Because if you love being alive and you reincarnate, you say, please, please may I come back, and you do, then practically everyone here, actually, it must be the case that everyone here asked to be here. Because we wouldn't be here otherwise. Otherwise, we'd live in a universe which does not consider our wishes. But we are that wish-fulfilling universe itself. Inseparable, We just don't remember asking to be born. I concur with that, dear Catherine. Dear Stripe, you share that we are the miracle of life, and you are so grateful for it. I am grateful to coexist in this miracle of life with you. In the 6th verse of the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gītā, a song said to be sung 5,160 years ago. Actually, let me get the original Sanskrit. It is, I think, my favorite verse in the whole of the Bhagavad Gītā. Yang yang vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tang tham evaiti kaunteya sadadhad bhava bhavitaha. Which means, whatever state of being one remembers when they quit their body, O son of Kunti, that state they will attain without fail. This single verse describes in its entirety how exactly the process of reincarnation happens. It is simply according to the state of being one remembers whilst quitting the body. There are so many consequences of this logic, which as an axiom makes it exceptionally good for proving different statements about the nature of reincarnation. For example, this implies, among others, that it is so important that we're thinking good thoughts, because the last thing we want to be thinking about is something negative while we quit the body. If this is true, then we must attain some state of negativity, if that is our final thought. Therefore, we must make the world a better place for others, so that their thoughts are generally more positive. Thus, we continue to be reborn into more positive possibilities. Therefore, we understand the evolution of consciousness as it goes from animals to humans, etc. That we see it's important for us humans to take care of animals so that they may have a chance of being human. If we leave such an impression on them that they are thinking about the possibilities that we have shown available for them in a human body, etc., etc., etc. What's really interesting about reincarnation and other principles of Eastern philosophy is that it's not a belief. What I mean by that is, it's not something that one should or should not believe in. It's a perspective. And from that perspective, as we just explored, it changes the way in which we engage in this world. Mathematically, we call that an axiom, something that by itself is neither true nor false. But if we perceive it to be true, then we discover what that leads to. We take an axiom and then we derive theorems from it. And according to something called reverse mathematics, the best axioms are the ones which lead to the most complete theory. Therefore, by this logic, reincarnation becomes a most excellent axiom, because it leads to the biggest changes in the way in which we live amongst each other. Just keeping it in mind is such a relief, because we don't feel that we have to live this one life with all the pleasure that we can fit within how many years. And we don't have to feel guilty if there's something that hasn't been done, that there are lessons that we can continue to learn, that there are loved ones that we continue to see time and time again. But the value of reincarnation doesn't come from some authoritative text or figure. It comes from how it creates a holistic worldview and the changes in our behavior that result from keeping that in mind. Thank you, dear Loopy Lane, for your friendship necklace. Hari Om Tat Sat. And dear Anazek, thank you for your heart me. Radhe O Radhe. Tatvamasi, you ask, does Sattvic also make sense for thoughts? And if so, isn't Sattvic more correct than positive? It depends exactly what you mean, but generally, Sattvic thoughts are the positive thoughts. Sattvic, well, it comes from that root Sat, which means truth. Sattva meaning the element of truth. Positive thoughts are the ones that bring out the truth of what's possible, the living reality. But that's right. In the context in which your comment was shared, we were talking about final thoughts. So, Sattvic thoughts are the best kind of thoughts to have. No doubt about that. And that's especially true when it comes to our finality. Dear Flower, you shared that your cat is always staring into your soul and helping you to heal. Yes. Something about cats, they just do that. Dear Angela, you shared that children were conceived, but the choice to be here was not theirs. If you identify with the decision to produce a baby as yours, then indeed it was not their choice. But according to this idea in the spiritual sense, actually it is the soul that inspires that idea between two people. That urge for procreation between a loving couple comes from the soul who's entered them, asking for an expression. And the parents are oblivious to this. They think, you know what would be a great idea? I think we should have a baby. And the other person says, yeah, that's a great idea. And then that soul that wants to have a physical incarnation goes, yes! I've made them feel like it was their decision. Thank you, dear Ron, for the heart me you sent to. And dear 257 for your rose. Ariom Tatsat. Robert Price, you ask, have I had the opportunity to read The Republic of Plato? I have not. Well, I'm sure I've had the opportunity, but I have not taken up that opportunity, I should say. Now I will point out that we are bringing to a close our live stream rather shortly. It's been a good nearly 3-hour journey so far, but I'm keeping an eye on the time. I would like to go through some things before we end our live stream, however. Yes, that's very true, dear Angela. By getting the opinion of others, we broaden our perspective. I have a question of the day, which I asked at the beginning and I shall ask again. Today I wonder, what are some of the most validating words that a person can receive? Words have the power to heal or hurt. Clearly, if the divine gave us the power of words for a reason, it was for the reason of healing. Dear Angela, you share that you are loved. I love you. You are appreciated. Platoon Gamer, you share that you're enough. And you know, as we share these things and I read them out loud, I would like for you to imagine, dear viewers, that you are the recipient of these words too. Sultan of the Sahara says, I love you being yourself. He says, I am proud of you. Angela adds, you matter. Good morning, shares Michael. Robert shares, I couldn't have done it without you. Angela, you share, your thoughts and beliefs are valid. And Megatroni, you share, I understand you. Miramira says, I believe you. I understand you. One Single Day writes, I've thought about you. And Stripe, you share positivity. In general, is very validating, I agree. And thank you, Zach, for the heart me you sent. Ram Ram. And Bongo Dave, you share that I appreciate you. The Real Idealist writes, the world's a better place with you in it. I'm here for you, shares Jake. Always feel freely, shares Sultana. Consuela writes, I love you, I see you, and I understand you. You were very helpful, shares Catherine. And Deanna writes, for everyone, I love you all, and please know that you are love. Anna shares, you are perfect exactly how you are. Bongo Dave, you share, thanks for being you. I respect your boundaries, shares Robert. Faithful Being says, you have skibbity riz. And Sultana, you share, I love you, I love you, I love you, I tell you. I'm glad you are here, shares Jen. Hello, D-Mod. You're saying, "Hi, Yam." Can't get more positive than that. Saying hello is a very positive thing to do. Dear Angela, you share, "I love you just the way you are." To paraphrase Billy Joel. Thank you. Thank you for exploring this, everyone. I believe that we all could use some validation, and that everyone has certainly felt what it's like to feel invalidated. Dear Captain 22, know that you are welcome to be here. Anna, you share that you are always unconditionally loved. Faithful being, you share that you read this somewhere, but I'd miss you even if I didn't know you. I like that a lot. It kind of has the same energy as I love you in all universes. Dear Anazek, you write words of support, encouragement, and love. Robert, you share, "I love you so much, so yes, you may have the last avocado." Yippee! Sharing is caring. I concur, dear Stripe. Thank you everyone for sharing this love, right, Sultana? Thank you too, dear Sultana. Dear Jen, thank you for your paper crane. Om Bhurбhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. I would like to begin the 6th chapter with you of Hollywood to the Himalayas. This wonderful story of Sadhvi Bhagavati Saraswati as she journeys from the west to the east. She's made her way to the Ganga, one of the most sacred rivers in India. She is here with her husband, Jim, because she's along for the ride of his spiritual pilgrimage. She probably just didn't want to be left alone, so she came with him. But what a world she has to discover, both within and without. And I love that, dear Mira, Myra, Mira. I'd recognize your soul in every life again. How beautiful. Let's read the 6th chapter, called The Grace of Ganga. How do you get back to the river? I asked the clerk after we checked in and dropped our backpacks in the sparsely furnished room. The Ganga called me. As we had crossed Ramjula, the bridge, our luggage strapped to our backs, the river flowed quickly and deeply below. Each year in the monsoon, the water level rises tens of feet, and her springtime gentle flow becomes a rush of summer waves. By mid-September, the rains subside. A brief afternoon storm in Delhi was our only experience of the tail end of the monsoon. However, the Ganga was still brimming from mountain rains and melting glaciers, since they are at the foothills of the Himalayas. The hotel clerk directed me down a narrow alley that ran in front of the hotel between two large ashrams until it dead-ended at a small road lined with tea stalls on the banks of the river. I did not want tea, however, or any of the jewelry or religious statues for sale in the marketplace. I wanted to put my feet in the river. After walking upstream along the riverbank a few hundred feet, I found clean marbled steps leading down to the river. pilgrims gathered on the lowest steps, pouring water over their heads from small brass pots, or grasping tightly onto chains while they dipped themselves once, twice, thrice in the rushing river. Parents held their naked children close to their chests, scooped up water and let it drip through their fingers over their children's bodies. Rubbing the holy water onto their own and their children's head, back, stomach, and legs, they chanted, Jai Ganga, which means glory to Mother Ganga. And the children squealed. At the far end of the low row of steps sat some meditators with malas, which are strings of beads, prayer beads in their fingers, palms open on their knees. As I walked down the marble steps to the river, I eyed a spot slightly downstream, far enough from the bathers to protect me from their splashing children. I stood, staring at the flowing river and at the dark green mountains on the opposite bank. And then it happened. An experience that 25 years later, I still struggle to articulate. From the landscape of river, mountains, steps, and bathers came an image of the divine, woven into and out of the treads of my visual field, occupying every frame of perception. Out of the light and colors and shapes and hues and textures of the world I had been watching came a divine form, an image of divinity that blended into and yet stayed distinct from the background. Next thing I knew, I was seated on the steps without remembering how I went from standing to sitting. I was sobbing, breathless, yet with no experience of either the sadness or happiness that typically accompanies tears. The tears were not foreign or external, not due to some effect or impact. Rather, they were myself, flowing out of myself as the waters of Ganga flowed by my feet. Waves of water outside and waves inside. The image of the goddess Ganga formed out of every color, shape, texture, and aspect of my visual spectrum. Here she was, and here I was, yet it wasn't really a her. Rather, it was an all, an everything, and I was part of that everything. There was nowhere I ended and all began. There was nowhere she wasn't. I stared, eyes open, into her form over the flowing river. I had come home. I sat on the cool marble steps, crying into the river. They were tears without thought, not the type I usually cried. These tears were not connected to any idea or memory or anything someone had said or done. They were simply tears of being in the presence of truth. Minutes, hours, days, and lifetimes passed while I sat beside Ganga's flowing waters. My mind had become non-verbal. The only thought that arose periodically was, "Oh my God." It came not as an intellectual thought, but as an outburst. "Oh my God, it is amazing. Oh my God, it is so beautiful." As I shifted my eyes from the river to the families on her banks, to the marble steps, the background of my visual field changed. First flowing water, then bouncing children and pious parents, then the inanimate structure of the steps. My visual field had become split into foreground and background. The background changed based on where I looked and what I was looking at. A person, a pillar, a rock, a statue. But the image of the divine stayed as the foreground of my visual field and did not change. Whatever I saw, a child, a mother, a marble pillar, I cried. Each varying background was the undulating canvas of color and energy on which the divine was painted. At some point, my husband Jim came down. "Hey," he said in words I no longer understood. "Pretty beautiful, no?" My mind was still nonverbal. All senses and awareness and knowledge had dissolved like salt dolls in the watery soup of my consciousness. I was unable to tease apart the various ingredients from the rest of the soup. Words, too, blended into the soup, unable to be extricated. I looked at him and cried as I smiled. "Wow," he said, as the tears poured out of my eyes, onto my clothes, and onto the marble steps between us. He sat down quietly next to me. And thus concludes the 6th chapter of Hollywood to Himalayas. I hope you'll join me next time as we read the 7th. Om Aing Saraswatyai Namaha Jaya Gange Namaha. If you like the story we're reading, we read it every day, and if you wanted to be caught up, I record all of the segments and put them in a dedicated playlist on my YouTube channel for free. You can check that out. Linked in the link tree in my bio. So, thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you, Deanna, for your rose, and tiny, yippee! And dear Hydra, thank you for your heart being W. Om Dum Durgai Namaha. Dear Samra, thank you for your hanging lights. Radhe Krishna and Romy, thank you for your rosa and friendship necklace and balloons. Om Brahm Bhairvaya Namo Namaha. Annie, thank you for your heart me as well. Jaya Sitaram, and thank you for your cheer you up. And Angela, thank you for your rose. Ram Ram. Welcome, dear Sam. I'd like to end with a meditation, and you are welcome to participate in it. This will be our final segment of our live stream today. For our meditation, I wanted to do some mantra japa, some recitation of sacred sounds. Today I'd like to do this mantra with you. The very auspicious mantra for Hanuman, a form of the divine in India. He appears as a monkey, and he represents bhakti and shakti, loving devotion and potent energy. He is revered as a great devotee himself, a great bhakta of Ram, another form of the divine. And it's said by calling upon him, we can create more devotion in our hearts for that divinity within everything. A bija mantra is a very specific type of mantra, which means a seed. It is said that some sounds act as seeds, and when we chant them, that's like watering a seed, and it grows and blossoms into a beautiful truth. The seed of this mantra is this word, pat, which is a little difficult to pronounce as it has an aspirated P sound, pa, almost like an F, and a retroflex T that requires us tapping the bottom of our tongue against the roof of our mouth. Pat. We'll explore more about this mantra as I bring up the meaning of each word. It starts with Om, another bija, the sacred sound, a universal symbol of the divine presence. It is the essence of the ultimate reality. Om. Namo is salutations, reverence or bowing down. Hanumate means to Hanuman, the great devotee of Lord Rama, the embodiment of strength, devotion, and wisdom. Bhaya is fear, and Bhamjanaya means the one who destroys or dispels. Sukham is happiness, comfort, or well-being. Kuru means to make, do, or bestow. Pat, as we said, is a mystical syllable, often used to invoke protection, power, and the destruction of negative energies. And Swaha actually is a third bija syllable, an offering or oblation used at the end of a mantra to signify the act of divine surrender. As a whole, you might translate this as Om, I bow to Hanuman, the one who destroys fear, bestows happiness and well-being. Pat Swaha. This mantra is a powerful invocation to Lord Hanuman, seeking his blessings to remove fears and grant happiness and peace. The syllable Bhat is a protective sound, and Swaha signifies the offering of the prayer to the divine. We will be doing it 108 times, and I don't expect anyone to pronounce it perfectly. Given that Sanskrit is an oral tradition, we can just listen to the background music, which I will put on, and you'll hear someone chanting it. And you can do the best as you can for as long as you want. This will be our meditation. Let me pause our background music and bring up a little picture of Hanuman to go along with this, so that you know the kind of personality Hanuman is. Monkey. Without further ado, to Hanuman.
Sukham Guru Vat Swaha.
Sukham Guru Vat
Sukham Guru Vat Swaha. Sukham Guru Vat Swaha.
Sukham Guru Bhat Swaha.
Namo
Hat Swaha. Thank you for chanting along with us, and for putting up with my phone vibrating for the past 10 minutes. Although I'm sure that added an extra layer of vibration into our chant. Jai Hanuman, the greatest devotee. To you salutations. And with that, we will bring our live stream to a close. It was actually a show and tell that I had planned, but I had forgotten to share it, so I'll have to wait until tomorrow to do it. It's a very special one, so I hope you look forward to that if you'd like to join here tomorrow. Thank you all for being here. If you ever wanted to get more out of these live streams, I upload all of them to my Yamsox Lives YouTube channel in full without any monetization. So you don't have to worry about falling asleep and waking up to a Tide commercial or something. Actually, the meditations too and the readings that we do also are clipped and have their own designated playlist, in case you ever thought to yourself, I liked that meditation, I want to do that again. You're welcome to. And that's why I always keep in mind all the future listeners of our meditation. Who knows how many could be joining us in the future right now. Maybe some of you. So hello, future versions of yourself. Hello everyone who joined, but also goodbye. Thank you, dear Romy, for the balloons you sent a while ago, and dear Annie for the cheer you up. Om Braum Hanumate Namaha. And dear Brihef, thank you for your heart me. Jaya Sitaram. Tatvamasi. Jai Nisargadatta, thank you for your trio of roses. Nisargadatta Maharaja. Indiana. I always feel like I'm saying Indiana because I say and Deanna. And Deanna. Thank you for your rose and tiny. Yippee! SB. Thank you for your 9 roses too, dear. Jaya Shri Rama. May this live stream be an offering to the divinity within you. Asato ma sadgamaya. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Murtyorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness into light, from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Again, thank you for allowing me the humble opportunity to host these live streams and be the reflection of so many lovely individuals as yourself. Thank you to my lovely moderators for helping keep this place inclusive. And may you all have a wonderful rest of your present moment.